Okay, so I hope you can hear me. Um, let's see. So I'm gonna try to show you how to start a plate. So you're gonna go to the same software that you always do. You know, sometimes the software just gives an error randomly that just doesn't want to start. And we found out that if we turn it off and turn it back on, it works. If you have trouble logging in the computer, on the first row is the username and the password. So like you typically do, you're going to get to this screen and you're going to go to create. And what you're doing here is, well, first you enter the barcode for your plate and your name. And you're going to select 384 well. And rather than doing standard curve, you can do comparative delta delta CT, or you can leave it on standard curve. I typically prefer to leave it on standard curve, even though you don't put a curve, but that gives you the raw CT values. And then with that, it's easier to do the analysis afterwards. But either way, you want to pick this or pick this, is perfectly fine. The only issue with this is that you're going to need, you're going to have to put the control every time, and it's a little tricky. So, all right, so you're gonna hit Tachman reactions. I think that's different from what you did before. And the master mix we have is the fast. So this is it. That's all you need to select. The next one is here on the left side. You click on define. And here, all your probes have the reporter FAM. So you don't have to change anything here. But for each of the genes, you're going to add the gene name, whatever gene you're measuring. And then you add as much as you need. And the way you add them is you click here on new. So now each gene is going to show up with a different color, even though it's the same probe. Now, to select samples, there's two ways. One way is to add every sample number here, like you did for Dr. Wei's experiments. But you can totally skip this and then use your template later on and complete it on Excel, because this takes a lot of time if you have to enter one by one. But if you want, you just change the number here. Again, totally up to you. Once you do that, the most important part is here that you add the genes and that this is MFAM and NFQ. Then you go to assign like you used to, and then you just select where are you going to measure what. So for example, I think what you did is here you were measuring the first gene, and then here you were measuring the second gene, etc. I don't know exactly where you're putting what, but what you do is you just select where things are going to be, and then you click on the right gene here on the left side. In addition to selecting which gene, you have to select which sample. So if you put different samples, now you have to go here and click where sample 1, where sample 2, etc. If you do it like me, you just select the whole thing and everything is sample 1, and then it just gets exported that way, and you correct it afterwards on Excel. So the pros of putting the number of the sample here is that you don't have to do it later. The cons is that it just takes too much time and it's difficult. It's so much easier to work on Excel. But again, if you want to put your own samples, the only thing you have to do is here, when you have samples, you click on new, and then you have sample 2, sample 3, sample 4. So then when you go back here to assign, rather than sample 1, if here is sample 2, here is sample 3, etc. Okay, so then you can do it whatever way you want. Okay, so once you have your plate with the probe and the sample that goes on each well, you have to add the controls. So for each of the genes that you're measuring, for example, I'm going to do it here in a tiny place. If here is gene 1, these 3, sample 1, and this one is your non-template control. Rather than selecting sample 1 here, what you do here is you click on N. That means the non-template control. So you'll see here that it says N. And you can also add that, put a name to that sample. So here in new, you put NTC. This is not mandatory, but if you want to do that, you create one, it's called NTC. And then on assign, you just assign it to the NTC. But again, if you forget any of this, we can always do it after the plates run. So if you decide that you're not going to put anything in this plate here, it's totally fine because the machine works in a way that you can do all of this afterwards. But it's easier just to do it here and now. All right, so you have all your samples, you have all your probes, and you put all your controls. Now you go to the running method. And here is where you have to modify a few things. First is the volume of the sample. Now it's going to be 10, right? And then you have to check on the protocol what the Tachman assay says. I think it's exactly the way that it says here, but just in case, I am going to double check with that. So we're gonna do Tachman master mix fast. There we go. And going on thermal. This is the one that you're using. So let's go to the, it should be here. There we go. Protocol. All right, so let's go and see. All right, so this is the master mix that you just did, right? You did this with here 2.5, and this is 8 instead of 9 because you're putting 2 microliters of sample, and then the protocol should be here. So our machine is the OneStudio 12. So we have a hold of 2 minutes at 50 degrees, a hold of 2 minutes at 95, and then we have the program. So we have to correct that in the software. So to add another hold, you add a stage that says hold. And then here it was 50 degrees. And I'm going to double check. It's at 2 minutes. So change the minutes first and then the seconds, because if you put the seconds on 0, it just doesn't work. So the next hold was 95 degrees, 2 minutes. So we're gonna correct this at 2 minutes. All right, and then it's 95 and 60. That's exactly what it said there. 1 second and 20 seconds. So that is correct. All right, so once the program is matching the data sheet of your master mix, now you can go to run. So you click here on the left side on run, and this is going to turn green if your machine is on and the plate is in. So make sure you put the plate in and that this is connected. If this for some reason doesn't show up, for example, here it doesn't show up for me because I'm in my house, not connected to the machine, you can go to instrument, and then it will show up here, like a picture of the instrument here where I'm showing with my mouse. And then you just click there and it will allow you to connect. But then once that's done, this should be green, and then you click there and it's gonna open a number. You click on that number and the plate will run. And this run should take about 40 minutes total. And once it's done, you will see here under analysis, the amplification plot for each of your results. And then we can discuss how to analyze the data. We can do it online with the software, or we can just submit the CT values to the PI, because I think that's what I discussed with them. So I think that's it. I hope this didn't take too much time, but I just wanted to make sure that I shared everything with you. There are a few things that I need to mention. One is that sometimes the machine gives an error about calibration. And it's been doing that very recently. We recalibrated and it just kept giving a message, even though it still works. So if it tells you something about this calibration has not been done correctly or something like that, just ignore that. It will let you proceed. So I hope it's still not doing that, but we'll recalibrate it again. It's just that it's still working okay. But for some reason, it just keeps giving that error no matter how many times I calibrate the instrument. And we may just need to buy new calibration plates. Other than that, I think I covered everything. So message me if you have any trouble understanding what I say or if anything wasn't clear. All right, see you.